Welcome to Women's Rugby Rundown 193 for March 17th through the 23rd. The debut of women's elite rugby lit up the United States with history-making matchups as the Boston Banshees and TC Gemini opened the first ever women's professional rugby league with comeback wins and wild endings. Over in the Guinness Women's Six Nations, France held off a determined Irish side. Scotland made it 2 straight over Wales for the first time in 2 decades, and England launched their campaign in dominant fashion against Italy. Spain kicked off their Rugby World Cup preparations with a confident home win over Brazil. The HSBC Sevens will return with back-to-back weekends in Hong Kong and Singapore. Pools are also locked in for the next World Rugby Challenger Series stop in Krakow, and we round up all the global premier and club competitions worldwide. I'm Wendy, here to bring you the latest in women's rugby. This is your Women's Rugby Rundown, and we're about to kick off. Let's start with some Sevens news. The HSBC Sevens rolls on with back-to-back weekends, March 28th to 30th in Hong Kong and April 5th to 6th in Singapore. We take a look at the pools. New Zealand and Australia keep swapping wins. Who's going to take the next 2 stops? Pools are also set for the next World Rugby Challenger Series stop in Krakow. Uganda is out. They dropped out last week. Belgium is in, as we suspected, as they were in 9th spot. It all kicks off April 11th. Down here in that fine print, really important, the top 4 teams from both women's and men's competition after Krakow will punch their ticket to the HSBC Sevens Promotion and Relegation Playoff Tournament in LA. Let's switch over to some 15s news. In the Guinness Women's Six Nations opening round, France held off a fierce Irish comeback in Belfast with a 27-15 win, surviving a second-half yellow card and relying on a late try to take the win. Scotland made it back-to-back championship wins over Wales for the first time in 20 years in a 24-21 battle. England kicked off with a dominant 38-7 win over Italy, racking up 6 tries, 5 in the first half, and securing a bonus point. Spain opened their 2025 Rugby World Cup prep with a strong 41-12 win over Brazil, scoring 6 tries in front of a home crowd as 3 players made their senior debuts. Spain now shifts focus to defending their European title starting this weekend. Canada's schedule for the 2025 Pacific 4 Series is locked in. They'll see the United States in Kansas City on May 2nd before heading to New Zealand and Australia for matches on May 16th and 22nd. The United States also confirmed a slate of matches for their men and women, starting on April 26th, USA Women versus Japan in Los Angeles. Friday, May 2nd, USA Women versus Canada. This one, Alice Sopper already covered this, but is a conflict with the LA Sevens. So we're going to have some of the fans in one part of the country and then other fans in one part of the country. And it's just a scheduling nightmare, not to mention there's lots of club rugby and college rugby on that weekend as well. So need to get that better. And then, of course, we'll have some matches. July 5th, the men will play Netherlands, and then July 12th, the men play Spain, and then the doubleheader. This one's really exciting. Saturday, July 19th, men versus England, and the women versus Fiji. Now let's take a look at Premier and Club news. We've got a lot this week. Women's Elite Rugby had their opening weekend, first time ever professional women's rugby in the United States. It was an interesting weekend. Boston rallied from 5-17 to edge New York 29-27, a win on the road. TC Gemini also on the road, battled through the cold to beat Chicago 20-15. Of course, you can watch all those matches on DAZN, and they have more matches coming up this weekend. There's tons of action in USA Club. In D1, Nova still leads the Atlantic. San Diego Surfers top SoCal, and the Dallas Queens in Red River punched their ticket to the April 12th championships. D2 saw Severn River qualify for the Atlantic Super Regional. Fort Miami holds their Florida lead, and WC Marines remain the team to beat in SoCal. D3 saw Roanoke take over first in the capital. D3 saw Roanoke take over first in the capital, with Frederick moving up to D3 saw Roanoke take over first in capital, with Frederick moving up to third. We've got some of the super regional brackets up, but we're waiting on confirmed seedings for some of the areas. Vancouver and West Shore continue their dominance in the BC Premier after round 7 with only 2 more weeks of league play. Blackrock took the win in their rescheduled match against Wicklow, locking in the top 4. Railway Union, UH Bohemian, Blackrock College, and Old Belvedere, with semifinals set for April 12th and the final on April 26th. Round 10 of the Welsh Premiership saw Buryport edge Pontyclun and Seven Sisters pass Whitland, with Handlaff still out in front. Northern Suburbs got past Impala 31-0 to book their spot in the Kenya Cup semifinals. They'll face the Kenya Harlequins, while Rongo University cruised past NYS Spades 45-12 to set up a showdown with Mwamba. The Black Pearls continue to rule the Nile Special Premiership with 8 wins, but the Thunderbirds have edged closer. DHL Western Province edged Sunlam Boland Damas 32-29 in a wild match on Saturday to book their spot in next weekend's South Africa Premier Division final against the Bull Daisies. Queensland's Red held off the ACT Brumbies 26-22 in a crucial Smart Tech Super W clash, while Western Force stunned Fijiana Drua 47-31 with one round to go before semifinals on April 4th and 5th. The Brumbies now need a win over the Waratahs to keep their semifinal hopes alive. The Blues locked in their spot in the Super Rugby Upper-Keefe Grand Final with a 36-21 win over Chiefs Manawa, while Matatu tightened their grip on the second after 43-24 win over Hurricanes Poa. Chiefs now need to win out and hope Matatu stumble with one round to go before the Blues host Matatu. That does it for the video this week. Of course, there's more news on our site at yscrugby.com. Never miss an episode of Women's Rugby Rundown by subscribing on Spotify, Patreon, YouTube, or any of your favorite social media platforms.